The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op.
The U.S. debt machine to grind to a halt where an auction fails. And then it's like the bug hitting your windshield, right? It's like, oh my, bang. I thought I was in good shape, and all of a sudden it's a calamity. So the people that do know, they don't want to acknowledge that this 35 trillion of debt. Matt, this is so funny because in 5 years, that 35 trillion of debt, just by pure mathematics, is going to be 60 trillion.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that will equate to 170% of GDP, US GDP. And as Luke Groman points out, and others, no nation in history that spends more money on their interest expense than their military expenditures, which the US just currently passed, where interest expense on the debt is only going to go higher, and military expending is going to struggle to maintain its current level. No nation that has experienced that in history has not failed. So on the one hand,
where is this in the credit market?
The credit markets are all subordinate to the treasury market. So this is where I say there's enough buyers of the current treasury market that still believe that that is your quintessential risk-free asset. There's enough buyers as long as the U.S. prints money to fill the gap that exists, because you can't possibly have enough buyers for 35 trillion of debt going to 60 trillion. They don't exist. You need a buyer of last resort. Who is that? It's the U.S. Treasury, okay? It's that simple. And as long as we understand that QE infinity is baked into the math, then you can accept, okay, I'm worried about next year's bonus. And I'm fairly confident between now and next year, this thing is not going to go off the rails. Can I say between now and 20 years from now, where Mr. Saylor is still confident that Bitcoin will exist in parallel with the US dollar? Certainly, I hope that he's right, but I can't see out 20 years like that. And there is a possibility that we get a cataclysmic event. But I trust me when I say, if the USA fails, I wouldn't want to be in pretty much any other country in the world, because the trickle-down effects from the USA failing are going to be just so painful to everybody else in the world. There is
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Defion Productions podcast. I'm your host, the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin, Don. That was the legend, Greg Foss, with a little bit of an older interview with Natalie Brunell, talking about QE to infinity, talking about money printing. What better way to print money than to get engaged in conflicts and war? And that's what we're in the middle of in this Iran conflict. Last week, President Trump was asking for another 1.5 trillion for defense spending, which just recently in 2025, last year is the first year we actually eclipsed 1 trillion, and now he's asking for 1.5 trillion. Print money, print. And that's Greg Foss talking about QE to infinity is inevitable. And here we are in this middle of this inflationary period where we are getting ready to put those money printers on high blast. And we're going to talk today, me and my producer, Rich, who is much more well-versed in political stuff than I am. I'm more on the Bitcoin finance side. He's got the political stuff, so I'm interested to hear in how he views some of the political stuff that's been going on, because there's been a hell of a lot of political stuff going on since we last spoke. You know, we didn't film last week, so it's been about 2 weeks since we filmed, and a hell of a lot of stuff has gone on. We'll start with the charts, kind of give you an update of where the markets sit currently, at least the Bitcoin market. Bitcoin sits at a price of 69,257. We did eclipse 70 grand earlier today, hovering around the 69,000 range right now. Total market cap of crypto at 2.38 trillion. Fear and greed sitting at 37, and everything is basically green today. It was sitting around 66,000 yesterday, Bitcoin on Easter Sunday, and overnight and into the morning, we got a bit of a pump. In the last 24 hours, we're up about almost 3%, 2.6%. In the last week, up 3.78%. And there's just a lot of stuff going on in regards to this conflict, war, news. It seems like every hour is happening, especially if you're on X and Spaces, and there's just news, all kinds of news just happening. Like I said, by the second, by the hour. We can put this post on the screen here, which correlates with the Greg Foss video that I just shown. US M2 money supply jumps to a new all-time high of 22.7 trillion. And you can take a look here. This chart starts down in the 90s, going all the way through into where we sit today in 2026. And you can just see this thing just taking off. And we're sitting at 22.6 trillion. So almost 22.7, 22.67 trillion of M2 money supply. It's just getting out of control, and it's just getting started, in my opinion. This conflict has no end in sight. I mean, maybe, am I wrong, Rich? Do you see an end in sight for this situation, Iran? Is this going to end in weeks like we're being told?
I don't think it is. I think, first of all, there's no clarity what we're even trying to do. It was the regime change, and then it was we got to destroy the nuclear plants, but then it was like
help out the Iranian people.
And then it was we're helping Iranian people, but now it's like now it's got to get the Strait open,
which was open before we started.
Open before. And now there's all this other stuff floating around,
and is not technically closed.
Right, and it's not really closed. It's
choked off, but not closed.
It's closed for some people.
Yeah, us,
people,
Israel,
not real fond of that. They
not paying a tax,
and the insurance companies in many ways have closed it.
Lloyd's out of London is really who's closing the Strait of Hormuz,
yeah, so
more than just Iran.
Iran opened the Strait. Tell the insurance company to open the Strait. I mean, obviously there's risk because some of the ships have been attacked and all that stuff.
Sure.
But it's, to me, like it is so complicated because it's all a lie. I think there's even reports today about this rescue mission they had to send in all these people supposedly to get one guy, which is not the way I've ever seen it done or heard that it's ever been done. Was it about uranium and but also last week he said they didn't have the ability to retaliate, and then we lost 4 planes in one day. We had a huge shakeup in the Pentagon. A bunch of people either were fired or resigned. Many of those people, based on their titles, were not just about maybe some decisions by the Hegseth to not promote blacks and women. Many of those seem to be more related to not willing to follow the orders regarding a ground invasion. And then all of a sudden we're sending in troops that maybe we're doing some kind of covert event. Why is the CIA involved? Like in a military operation?
Why?
If it's not something
Trump said today something in the neighborhood of 120 to 150 planes were involved in this rescue operation for this one officer. That seems excessive. I mean, I don't know, military ops. I don't know what goes into rescuing military personnel that are behind enemy lines, but it seems like 120 to 150 aircraft being used doesn't seem very stealth and seems very excessive if you're just trying to get one person.
Well, Iran shot down a radar type plane, an AWACS, whatever they call it now, last week. Which also then there is tons of video coming out of Iran of like American military, like identified American military, like C-130s, which is a really, really old plane. We have them here in Niagara Falls.
Yep, we do.
The C-130
Niagara Falls
Hercules.
Air Force Base,
They're not
which is about
from
10
our
minutes
base
from
necessarily, obviously, but
Yeah.
these are older planes. These planes were originally designed in the 1950s. Like, I don't know these planes exactly, the equate from the 60s or even the 70s, but these are not combat planes. These are cargo planes. These are planes that do special missions, dropping things, refueling. These planes do not fly quickly. They have propellers. These are not supersonic jets. And they're flying very low to stay under radar. I mean, like you could see the markings on many of the videos that were released from Iran, like people in Iran. I don't understand what we're doing. I don't think there's a mission. And now it seems like the president's just frustrated because he's not getting what he wants.
Now, he spoke Wednesday night, right? It was Wednesday night or was it Thursday?
Yeah,
I get my nights. Wednesday night, he speaks. And I watched it live. And I've been very, very critical of President Trump going back to before he was even elected. I don't want to say I told you so, but I saw a lot of this coming, and I've been saying he's a con man for a long time. But all that aside, he looked just health-wise, delivery-wise, he looked off. He was not on his game. That was not like the very well-spoken, quick-witted President Trump. I counted just from what I was like watching in real time 4 specific times that in one sentence he completely contradicted himself by saying one thing at the start of the sentence and contradicting it with something completely polar opposite on the other end of the sentence. And it was like, what are we doing? I put a post up the day after or a couple days after, and I got it up on the screen right now. A Facebook post. You got involved in the post too, and I have it here. That it's part of what I'm going to show. I put multiple planes have been down by Iran a day after Trump claims air superiority, which he did in his speech, and them having zero capability. So President Trump in his speech said that we have air superiority, and that he said, his words, not mine, quoting him, that Iran has zero capabilities. The strait was open before we attacked them, which is correct, right, Rich? The strait was completely open before we attacked them. Now, opening the strait is the goal, while multiple countries are days away from an energy crisis, and some are already experiencing that now. I said, invoke the 25th. Our commander-in-chief is incapable of leading. After seeing him speak, after seeing all this stuff going on, I had an emotional response, and I said that. And people that are still supporting President Trump got involved. And I also put this picture up here. The energy crisis isn't coming. It's already moving, and it is different places at different times. Asia in progress right now, Middle East and Africa beginning of April, Europe mid-April, Australia mid-April, United States May. Tokyo felt it first. Frankfurt is next. Houston thinks it has time. It doesn't. The wave doesn't stop. It just arrives later. So somebody tweeted that. And then you came in and said, Buddy said he has 3 days. But he said 3 days ago they have absolutely no anti-aircraft capability. I got involved in another status, and somebody responded. And to be fair, I had a back and forth with this individual on somebody else's status. This wasn't on one of my statuses. I got involved in somebody else's. And we had a back and forth that went for hours. And at the end, it ended up being pretty cordial. It started out kind of hot. But I give this dude a lot of credit because he kept going back and defending his point, even though I feel like his points were, he's definitely obviously still MAGA, which I can't believe there's people that are still that. And he was defending what I feel is defenseless at this point. But here he said, you left out once upon a time, literally, and this is him saying literally weeks away from being done. He's reiterating what Trump said. We're literally weeks away from being done. Fun fact, during Operation Desert Storm, which was a 43-day conflict to remove Iraq from Kuwait, the United States lost on average 1 aircraft per day to enemy fire. This operation has gone on for 32 days, and we've lost 2 in total to enemy fire. So I responded back, defending Trump still here is grandmaster levels of delusion. This isn't Desert Storm. This isn't Iraq. Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan did not have the global economic ramifications of this conflict. Absolutely abysmal miscalculation on the Trump administration here. And I stand by that. And I really believe that Desert Storm, Afghanistan, and even the second wave going into Iraq was a completely different time, completely different economic conditions, as well as geopolitical conditions. This here is much different. I don't know. What do you think I'm correct, or do you think I'm off on the politics there?
I would love to do some research on if he's true about if he's accurate about the number of planes that we lost. I don't think we lost that many planes in Iraq. the difference, and I explained this to somebody in a fight the other day myself, that the difference between what we're doing right now in Iraq and every other conflict that we've ever been in, the buildup, the planning, the expertise of our military was second to none in those things. Whether it's Colin Powell or all those guys that Swarkoff and all those guys that were like that military that we had at that time, from like 90, the first Kuwait War, up until we just decimated our military after in Iraq. Like, that military probably was the best military in the history of the world. Those 15 years. We were unchallenged. We were a fighting force. We were diverse. Our equipment was all cutting edge. We are not that military anymore. We're not.
No, we're not.
We are not the military once was. I saw, and I apologize, but there was
battles are also not fought the same. We don't fight on the
Right.
We keep talking about ground invasions. Like, these battles are kinetic now. It's not the same sort of warfare of just going in.
You can't invade Iran. You just can't. It is
The terrain.
the size of the West Coast. It is huge. It's 90 million people. I mean, go look at a map. It's mountainous.
Yeah, in the terrain.
And they have been planning for this invasion since I was a kid. Like, this is something Iran figured is coming. Their system of tunnels that they have built, incredible engineering, by the way, the Iranian people. Like, you may not like their politics, but this is one of the oldest societies in the world. They have an
Persian Empire. Persian Empire goes back to the people are just like this. There was like, people forget, like, the United States is this big empire now. Like, the Persian Empire was a thing.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
And early on, and incredibly sophisticated. A lot of the things that they're using are their own invention. They didn't buy them from Boeing or for some.
We got a comment.
So this is it's a different. Iran is very different than any other people we face.
I can't. I just seen that we have one. I don't know what it says. You want to throw?
Iran dominates drone warfare.
Oh God, yeah, and not to mention the case. What's up, dude? Thanks for chiming in. He brings up a good point in regards to the drones, because they're fighting on a different scale than we are. Those drones that they're fighting with are like $25,000 to $50,000 pieces of equipment, and we're blowing them up with $100 million rockets. Right. So, like, the ratio of dollars spent is just, like, astronomical.
I cannot think of the name of it.
Goes back to the money printing that we opened up the video with.
There's a rocket that we've been using, and I forget the name of it. We have used in 40 days or whatever this heck is. I don't even know how many days we're in. How many days are we in? Not even 40 days. Whatever it is.
The 28th of February until today.
According to the one reports that I saw online yesterday, like something like 85% of the rockets in existence of this one type of rocket. Like, it's ridiculous how many that we've used. And yes, now we're going to start using whatever these other things we're going to be using on essentially civilian targets now, it sounds like, too. We're no longer, we're going to be hitting power plants, desalination plants, and bridges. That is...
For our viewers, like, I had to do some research because I didn't even know. Like, this is all, like, I'm learning, as I think some of our viewers may as well. The desalination plants are of extreme importance. If we start going back and forth hitting these desalination plants, you're literally going to create people that will not be able to get fresh water in an enormous area, which is the Middle East. Like, those desalination plants take the salt water and make it drinkable for these people. And if you start blowing up these desalination plants, it's not very long where you're going to create famine.
Farming and stuff.
Yeah.
You're literally going to starve. You're going to murder a population. You're going to.
And our allies are getting their desalination plants hit by Iran. Yeah. So it's a tit for tat. Yeah. I want to play this video real quick. It's gone viral on X, and I think I've seen it on IG, and I don't have TikTok. I deleted it, but if people have TikTok, I'm sure it's been on there. For 54-second video, I want to play this, and then I'm going to show a tweet from somebody that kind of like hammers in what this gentleman was talking about as well.
You didn't get a wall. You didn't get any arrests. You didn't drain the swamp or America first. You didn't get any new infrastructure, no $5,000 Doge check. You didn't eliminate any national debt or get any help buying a new home or help with lower grocery prices or gas prices. I mean, it's quite the opposite, in fact. You didn't get a $2,000 stimulus check or affordable health care or any accountability for the Epstein files, which he promised when he said he was going to release them all to the public. And you damn sure didn't get any no more wars. Now, what you got was conned. And you're too fucking embarrassed to admit it.
That is dynamite.
No,
that is
great.
dynamite,
yeah.
because that's where all the MAGA supporters, I believe right now, unless you're absolutely completely delusional, that's where you're at. You defended him for so long. And to be fair, he sold a good con. A lot of the things that he was talking about were things that we wanted. And again, as a critic of Trump, some of the things he was campaigning on, I was for. And I want you to put this post up here. I want to give him credit. Sam's podcast, another Bitcoin podcast, and he's on a lot of spaces on X. I tweeted at him and I told him that I was going to be showing his tweet and giving him props. So if you see him up here, I'm circling him right there, Sam at the Sam's podcast. Follow Sam, follow his podcast on X, Dynamite. But he put this tweet up and I knew I was going to show that video, and this just hammers it home of what I think people in the MAGA movement and those that were maybe not necessarily in the movement, but maybe voted for him or were in the middle that were wanting some of the things he was saying. I think this really hammers it home of where we are right now on April 6th, 2026. The real stolen election was not 2020. It was 2024. In 2024, the majority of American voters voted for no new wars, strategic Bitcoin reserve, Ukraine war over on day one, lower or no taxes, Epstein arrests, citizen and ID to vote, lower unemployment, lower inflation. What we've gotten 18 months later, a huge new war, Trump and Melania BS, those are the meme coins, inauguration night, escalation in Ukraine, taxes and tariffs, zero Epstein accountability, no Save America Act, Maduro, Greenland, Cuba, NATO, higher unemployment, sticky inflation, which is actually going up, markets declining in uncertainty. Not that long ago that we were 50K Dow, and now we're in the mid 46s. Greater polarization, socialist surges in midterms. Republicans need to publicly distance themselves from this insanity, or else in another 6 months, we'll have troops in Iran fighting a costly, losing battle and a progressive socialist majority in Congress. 5D chess, my ass. I thought that was perfect. When I saw that, I'm like, he hammered it. Like Sam, absolutely. The
thing that I will throw in, and I'll say it because I just kind of feel it needs to be said. There are also a portion of people that are MAGA that are very afraid of the country not looking like them. And then
wait. Say that again and elaborate.
There's a lot of people that are in MAGA that are afraid of America not looking as white as it used to be. And I think that, and I'm going to just say it because
all right.
I'll say it. I'm not saying there's a lot of people that are like that, but there is an aspect of defense that he gets because I think I'm not accusing the president of anything. I'm just saying there are people that defend Trump, and I think there is that aspect.
So you're talking racial undertones.
Yes, I think there's a level of it. Whether it's they don't, and it's not just African American. I think it's religious. I mean, even like some of the weird stuff we're getting from the Defense Department regarding Catholics. I mean, like the Protestants versus Catholics, we're bringing that back. Like the weird things that there's an aspect, and they're not really. They claim to be doing out of Christianity, but it doesn't feel very Christian. There is, and I think and I don't think that's all of the people that are left in MAGA. Think there is a percentage.
I'll speak to the religious thing. You're bringing up a good point. I'll say this: the religious shit triggers me. It really does, because we're like indoctrinated in this country to believe that like Muslims are the worst people on this planet. And is there radical Muslims? Of course. Were there radical Muslims that allegedly we're behind 9/11. I say allegedly because there's just so much shit out there, like who knows what's real, what's not. But the narrative is that radical Muslims are behind 9/11. So like we're indoctrinated for 25 years since 9/11 to believe that like the Muslim religion is just like this worst thing ever. I personally know a bunch of Muslims and none of them are radicals and none of them are shitty people. So I just don't subscribe to that. Now we have, I don't know if you've been noticing, but like openly in these cabinet meetings that we're like have cameras in now, which is really weird to me as well. Like they're openly praying and like doing like religious stuff in these cabinet meetings to like show how Catholic and Christian everybody is. And so now it's like Catholics and Jews against Muslims. And it's like this big like religious shit. It's like, is it politics or is it religion or is it both? It's like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we really fighting for? What are we really fighting about? And I don't think it's clear. And I think you talked about it at the beginning and I kind of did as well. I think on the financial side, I believe this is all just about expanding the money supply and another reason to just print and for people to get rich. And I'm about to show something else about the Trump family just absolutely making so much money during this presidency. But like, at the end of the day, like what is this? What are we selling to the American people? Like, what are the American people supposed to believe this is about? Because we have like so many different narratives, and I don't know which one we're hammering in on. Do you? Like, what is this really about?
I don't think it's just it's well, let's do this today. It's just every day there's something new that happens, and there's a new narrative every single day. It's of why we're doing this, and then we're going to do this now, and we'll do it, and not to mention now some of the more covert things, like I said, about like that you read right before we went on the air about, like maybe this was about getting the uranium. Like it's just so, and not to mention a lot of this is because we've been intimidated by Israel. Like Israel wants us to do this. Like I don't, and now he's running for cover. Like on Friday, they basically told everybody the president's not asking any questions. Leave us alone. We're not talking. That was Friday. He shut down.
Yes, we can. Everything. Let's talk about that for a second because there was a rumor going around X yesterday that something was wrong with him. Over the weekend, it was either Friday or Saturday. There were rumors that he was hospitalized at Walter Reed. It was never confirmed.
Supposedly some reports. And even a couple saying that he was at Walter Reed.
Never confirmed. It was never confirmed. I never saw it confirmed. But yesterday, people were saying that like nobody had saw Trump from that speech on either Wednesday or whenever that Wednesday night until yesterday, because typically presidents do like Easter stuff, like go to Easter Mass on a Sunday, and he was supposed to go to 3 separate masses on Easter, and he called off all 3 of them.
And then he was seen
at Virginia golf course.
And again, we saw him supposedly at the golf course. You just don't know if that picture was accurate. That could have been them leaking that picture, because you can't date that thing. There's no way to know when that date was. So, that could have been leaked by their own people, just to make them like. And then there was like at one point the motorcade was driving around. Like there was no one saw him in the motorcade, but and then there was even rumors that like at one point he was in the Oval Office because there was a shot of a Marine standing outside of it. But like level of accountability, like they always talk about how this is the most accountable president of all time, which obviously isn't true. Like I don't put it past him just to have a Marine stand outside the door to confuse people and make them think that he was in the Oval Office.
Did you see?
He doesn't even like to work in the Oval Office.
Now we missed last week, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. But did you see what Alex Jones was saying last week? Who's been a very, very staunch Trump supporter and is always typically had President Trump's back. Yeah. He was interviewed or doing an interview, and he said it's his belief that President Trump is having some sort of heart issues. He mentioned the fact that his ankles are swollen, which is a sign of heart issues. Plus, like there's a lot of, if you look around X, like there's pictures of like a discoloration in Trump's hand where it looks like he might have some sort of like IV or something that's going in there, or some medical something that's happening on a regular basis. And I just think I didn't put a lot of stock in it until he spoke on Wednesday. Well, when I saw him speaking,
there's a story about him that it's from an older article that he has talked about how he takes like a ridiculous amount of aspirin. So he basically is trying to keep his blood thin. He's worried. He's always been he's always had this weird medical concept. If I remember the article correctly, and I apologize if I give him this somewhat wrong, he's always taken a ridiculous amount of aspirin, and he's always been concerned about blood clots. So some research that he did. So a lot of it is someone that those hand markings, a lot of people think it's because he's on so many blood thinners. So, which is not a good thing because then they're concerned about clots and heart attacks and those kinds of things.
I mean, he's 80. He's 80 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
and he doesn't look healthy.
And not to mention, like, he's obese. Like, he can lie about it all he wants and say he's super healthy and in great shape, but like the eyes tell you a different story. He's overweight. Like, he's an 80-year-old overweight man. Like, you could just.
And it's a stressful job. Like,
of course, just a cavalcade of
presidents that have aged ridiculously in the time that they were in the White House.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of those guys look like they were much healthier. Like,
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he's having health issues. And like, I really think we're starting to see the early stages of dementia. Like, I think we're going down the same road that we were at with Biden. We're not to be fair and to be clear, like, it's not Joe Biden yet. Like, we're not at the place of just like, Trump's going to be eating ice cream like Biden was the last year of his presidency. But like, he's got another 3 years left, and you can decline a lot neurologically in 3 years. Like, it's not outside of the realm of thinking that somewhere along the line, and that's like lame duck period, which is probably going to be where he's at after these midterms, because we're going to definitely flip all the Senate and the House is definitely going the other way. Like, this it's a disaster. His numbers last week were worse than at the same time of the presidency of President Carter, there's
a lot of authoritarian things that he's doing that makes me very nervous for the country on many levels. And they're also hurting us financially. And this is a financial podcast. So like going to the Supreme Court and sitting there and staring at the Supreme Court the other day over the SAFE Act
with Pam Bondi, and then he fires her like later that day.
Like, that's bizarre. And then he's like sending out executive orders about college sports. I'm like, brother, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's like
he's all over the map.
And he never. And then not to mention the craziest tweet of all, the truth
post
of all
day. God, that was
Easter Sunday.
Yeah, that was wild.
If any other president
that was
had
wild.
done something like praise Allah, you can say praise Allah, but to do that on,
it was obviously a dig at that religion.
A huge part.
It was obviously a dig at that religion.
Christian nationalisms.
Yeah.
And that is the most un-Eastery Jesus thing of all time to post on Easter of all days.
To go back to the original thought that we were having of like not having any idea like what we're even doing anymore because it's changed so many times. As bad as Iraq and Afghanistan were, as bad and is much of a just adjunct disaster those 20-year wars were, in the fact that it was like built on lies, at least we knew what the lie was and it stayed consistent. Right. It was WMDs and terrorism. Like, that's what we were doing. And we knew it.
And the real reason
was oil.
The real reason was oil and property development.
Yep.
And selling of weapons and weapon systems.
And this is pre-internet. It's pre-internet, so we all believed it was WMDs and terrorism for a while, for half of it, for at least half of it.
In terms of were we successful in what we said we were doing there? Absolutely not. But were the corporations successful in everything that their goals were? You got it. You're damn right. They were. Halliburton and all those companies. They made people made a lot of money on that stuff.
Yeah. With that being said, like we knew here, it's like the last couple of days, he's like zeroed in on opening the Strait of Hormuz. And it's like, brother, the strait was open and completely operational February 27th. When you bombed him on February 29th, that's when everything changed. You caused it. You and your buddies in Israel are the ones that caused this. And now, like, I think Iran like stumbled into this like opportunity that didn't even know existed, I don't think, of like this new way that they can like tax ships coming through and controlling the strait. And like we made this, and we lifted the sanctions. We lifted the sanctions off them, and they got this operation going in the strait. Like, things are going great for them. They have no desire or motivation to change anything.
By all accounts, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. By all accounts, there was an agreement in place that they were willing to sign that was better than the Obama agreement. And we were going to probably get the uranium too. They were going to turn over the uranium. And then nope. And then it turns out they were never. That was negotiation was just a scam. It was the same way that like he almost stole from the Japanese. What the Japanese were negotiating with us when they were about to bomb Pearl Harbor. It's almost like he did the exact like he pulled from like the 1941 Japanese playbook. Like we're going to be pretending to negotiate with you. Oh wow, you actually bomb him anyway because
not to mention that the individuals that were in charge of negotiating on behalf of the United States are civilians.
Right.
They have no official role in government. And those are the people that were and then they're negotiating, they're civilians, and then in the middle of the negotiations, we bomb them and we kill their supreme leader. So what motivation do they have to come back to the table in any sort of good faith to believe that we're operating in good faith? That's how we got this thing started, was bad faith. So threatening them that if they don't come to the table and negotiate, that we're going to go bomb all this other stuff. It's like at this point, they're in YOLO mode. Like, what do they have to lose at this point? At least whoever's operating and making the calls and calling the shots. Like, I don't see, if I'm Iran, and I said this, if I'm Iran right now, I have zero motivation for anything as it currently stands to change, because things for them outside of being bombed, which is never great, but like that region of the world, they go through that. So objectively, their situation has improved since the start of this conflict. Ours has gotten worse and the rest of the world has gotten worse. But Iran, number one, is fighting off the big bad bully. And number two, sanctions have been lifted off and they're making money in the street. So why would you stop any of that? What motivation do they have? Enlighten me, because I don't see it.
I agree. Like there is, and there's no level of faith. I doubt that they have any like sense that they could negotiate in fair faith and with the president or the country, because it doesn't sound like they're going to trust him on his word. So, and again, I'm not defending Iran. I don't think Iran's this wonderful place. Like,
same.
But, I mean, you went and poked a bear out of some level of conceit. Or
a completely terrible miscalculation.
Someone showed you designs and pictures, and you fell for it. Whether it was Israel, whether it was Pete Hegseth, whoever it was, and now you're stuck with it. And the thing that you were talking about is about how like gas was $1.12. He kept saying weird things about how, which was never true. But now he's doubled the gas prices. Like we were getting close to $2 to $2.22, and now we're over $4 in most places.
Yeah, the national average was $4.10 this morning.
I mean,
and some of the blue states are 5 something. Yeah. Diesel's what you got to worry about. Diesel's the price that you need to be concerned with, because diesel is what transports our goods and services, which is going to make the prices go up. Not to mention that we've already had a hot February, and when we get the March numbers with the war that's going on, it's going to be through the roof. Inflation is going to be through the roof, which is going to also screw up everything he was trying to do in regards to the Fed, because the Fed is not going to be able to cut, and they may actually have to raise rates again.
Produce prices are going to go up.
Yep.
because the oil is behind schedule. And a lot of those materials are used in planting and fertilizer. And now that there's a very short planting season that's being missed because the materials aren't in place. So we're eventually going to lead into some issues with produce, and again, like we don't grow everything here. We have a lot of produce that we get from foreign countries, and those countries are dependent on oil from those countries. They're not buying the oil from us. And again, this whole thing about oil is funny to me, because most people in this country don't even realize that we talk about the oil that we get out of our ground. Yes, we drill a lot of oil, but it's not the same oil you're thinking of when you think of the oil that's coming out of the Middle East. It's a completely different process.
Is there another comment up there?
It's Casey again.
Yeah. What do you say?
It's improved for Iran in the thought of starving the American economy, the ability to send us to a recession.
They do. They hold all the cards. They really hold all the cards. And and he put scary at the end, and I'll tell you what's the scary part. The scary part is the only sensible, logical way out of this is for us to just back away, take the L, and just let Trump and his people spin it however way they want to spin it. But at the end of the day, history's going to look at it like an L. And we have a president that's incapable of doing that. He's too egotistical and narcissistic to know that history will look back on this as him walking away and taking an L. No matter how much he tries to spin it, he knows what the narrative is going to end up being, and he won't allow that. So we're going to continue this. Who knows for how long?
I think we've got another month minimum.
And we have countries that don't have that amount of time that before they have a flat, all-out energy crisis.
And we don't have any support from a lot of countries,
because they can see what's going to happen economically.
Like whether it's Ireland or Italy or Spain, a lot of these countries are like, we're not even letting you fly your planes. If your planes are doing a military thing, you cannot fly through our airspace. And they're like, how could you betray us like this? How could you betray us? You've been tariffing everybody for a year since the great liberation, whatever, American liberation, whatever.
Liberation Day, yeah.
Like, get out of here with that. Like, you've consistently insulted every one of our allies for years, and then you tariff the crap out of them, and made it all goofy, and in which we picked up the cost of the tariffs anyway. But you've screwed up everybody's economies. But then somehow you think they're going to come help you. Like, why on earth would anybody come help you? You don't got anybody.
This has been an absolutely, completely reckless last 12 months because the tariffs were about a year ago. It was like beginning of April. And then, he's been tirading against our allies, tirading against flip-flopping between 10%, 25%, 50%, 100%, like all over the map with that. And then now we have this situation in Iran and he's looking for help. And they're like, dude, you've been a psychopath, bipolar maniac for the last year. And now you want our help over here? Like the level of illogical miscalculations by this administration has been absolutely abysmal. I don't know any other way to say it. Let's play this. Let me put this post up first. I'll read it and then I'll play this video to hammer it home. No president in modern history has used the office to enrich himself the way Donald Trump has. That's not a political opinion. It's the conclusion of ethics watchdogs who have spent their careers watching this stuff. The crypto ventures, which we talk about on this podcast often, the foreign deals with the Saudis, the Qataris, the Emiratis, the $400 million Qatari jet, which we haven't talked about in a while, the $90 million in media settlements, the gold golf balls from the Japanese. I don't even remember that. This is the man who told you he was going to clean up Washington. For this president, the presidency isn't about protecting our democracy or the public trust. It's about turning the highest office in the land into a personal cash register, and he's been doing it from day one.
There's the crypto ventures his sons launched, the meme coins, the foreign private business deals with the Saudis, the Qataris, the Emiratis, the media companies they've launched, the media companies the president has sued and gotten $90 million from. There's also the gifts, like the $400 million Qatari jet, the gold crown from the South Koreans, the gold golf balls from the Japanese. It is a staggering list, one some ethics watchdog groups call unprecedented in modern history. But especially when the person at the top is the person who promised to clean it all up.
I don't know what else people need to see to not understand that this is one of the biggest con jobs definitely in American history. Maybe, I'm not well versed enough to know what happens in other countries, but for sure in American history, this is an enormous con. At this point, I do not understand how anybody cannot look at this administration and see that he has completely conned the American people. Am I wrong? Am I seeing something? Am I missing something? Is this the 5D chess that I'm not smart enough to understand?
And I'm with you on that. I would like to know what you thought he was going to get for you, and if you can prove to me that in some way you have benefited from his policies, like the things he promised you. What were the things you voted for him for? And which one of those, like, can you really, like they'll say things like, like wages are up, which is not really true. It's up like nominally, but not even close to inflation. You know, yes, we had some things that went down in price, but those prices were inflated because of other environmental, like environmental type things, like the eggs and stuff. Like that was the thing. Like there was also supply stuff that went down because we were still dealing with issues from COVID from 2 years, supply shortages and inflation and companies being cash poor. Like there was a lot of reasons why those things, and I'm not saying like inflation was good under Biden. We know it was a disaster.
Oh, it's absolutely abject failure.
It was, but okay, and I agree with that. I think it was, but like, are you telling me somehow you've gotten what you thought he was going to get? What are the things you thought you were getting, and you think you got?
There's two things he's done. I'll give him credit. There's two things he's done, in my opinion, which one is inconsequential in the grand scheme, and the other one is, depending on how you view the problem, could be worthy of praise. The one is he stopped men from competing in women's sports. Like that's the one thing he did. Okay. I would say that's inconsequential. I mean, I guess if you're a girl in a sport and you don't want, at the end of the day, it's just, who cares? Like there's so many other things that's wrong. I know it's like 50th on the list if it's even that high. The other thing is ICE and immigration. He did slow down the amount of people coming in illegally, and he created, or didn't create, but I guess.
But in terms of the number of arrests, that the people that he said he was going after, these gangs and stuff,
criminals,
like,
and yeah.
ISIS, we've never seen any footage of ICE taking down any gangs. We only see them taking down like people that work in restaurants, and we see that footage.
Or shooting American citizens, which
we have yet to see, like, those things, like, and then the other day posted, we have 110 terrorist sleeper cells in the United States. Not one of those sleeper cells ICE has gone in and taken care of.
Apparently they got Soleimani's niece and nephew or something. I saw, like, the Iran guy they picked up, right. Apparently. But those are the only two things that I can think of that he campaigned on and promised that he's actually somewhat followed through on. Now, again, he signed a lot of executive orders the first week he was president, but like executive orders without congressional approval, a lot of that stuff is just paper.
Most of them have been thrown out.
Yeah, no, and even the tariffs that he,
after all that crap,
the Supreme Court voted against it. They're not even constitutional. Yep. And it's still going through court and all that kind of stuff. So, like, the main things, Epstein files, complete disaster, absolute disaster. Prices of goods and services, maybe for a short time, they were at least like stagnant, maybe not accelerating, but we're way past that. They're all accelerating again. Gas prices are possibly by the end of this month and into May, maybe back at Biden levels, where the national average is around $5. We accelerated from 270 to 410 in like 40 days. If we take that same trajectory, we're going to be in the fives. And again, we just got done talking about how we don't see any end in sight for this. So it's definitely the realm of possibility. He was talking about lowering rates to make home buying easier. We're in the opposite direction of that. Rates are probably going to go up, if not, definitely not going to be lowered. Where halfway through last year, we were talking about 3 or 4 rate cuts this year. Now we're going to get none. We're probably going to raise rates. And people that are looking to buy a home are going to be dealing with higher prices and dealing with higher rates.
Well, I mean, Powell posted something about, like, talking about the debt and
unsustainable. Yeah,
he says it's unsustainable, and I know
he's been saying that for years.
Short, but I don't know who's replacing him. But whoever it is, I know it's going to be an appointee. But at the same time, like,
it has to be confirmed.
It has to be confirmed. But like, I don't know if there's somebody on there that is so enamored with this president that they're going to do exactly what he wants. They may lean towards some of the things there might be, but I won't be surprised if he ends up being mad at the Fed chair because they end up not doing what he thinks they're going to do.
I think we have probably, what is it, May, and we have the midterms in November. I'm sorry, April. So we're in month 4. Midterms are in month 11, 6 months. I think in the next 3, you're going to start to see people that have been by his side starting to flip. You're going to see self-preservation in Washington because the MAGA movement is, by all accounts, almost dead, if it's not already dead. And the people that have been staying loyal are going to start seeing the ship sinking and start looking for life reservers and lifeboats to start saving themselves. You're going to start seeing people break from the Trump ideology and philosophy, especially when you see the seats flipping at the midterms.
Well, just look what happened at CPAC. Like CPAC was not the event.
No, it was not.
Like it's changed. Like the attendance was down.
People are seeing the writing on the wall.
Booing the president at times, and some of the things that were discussed. They were trying to get the people there very motivated, in to kind of get some momentum for the president, and they really were not very successful on many different things. A lot of people there are pretty disappointed. This is not what they wanted. This is not what they thought they were voting for. Let's put it that way.
I just Googled his approval ratings. As of April 6, 2026, President Donald Trump's average job approval rating is approximately 39.1%, with an average disapproval rating of 57.6. These figures represent an all-time low for his second term, largely attributed to rising fuel prices and public opposition to the ongoing war. Trump maintains strong support among his base, with an approval rating near 100% among MAGA supporters and approximately 73 to 75 among Republican voters. Conversely, 98% of Democrats disapprove of his performance. Economic approval for his handling of the economy has plummeted to 31%, while only 27% approve of his handling of inflation. Impact of the Iran war. Public support for the war is low at 28%, with 61% of Americans disapproving of recent strikes. That's a high number. State level.
Early in a war, especially early in a war.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I mean,
and it's not like, again, I think a lot of people thought he was going to be focused on improving the economy, and like you said, he did some things in terms of immigration that some people have liked. I'm not fond of his stance on immigration, the things that he's been doing. But you're right; those were promises. Those are probably about it. Like the border is definitely more secure. Sure, okay. But some of the things that we're doing are, the stuff that's kind of coming out about the way we're doing things. Like we're buying these. I saw one place there where they bought this huge warehouse, and they were planning on using as a holding center in this one county, this very Republican county, and they basically have told the government, we're not going to give you the permits to use it because that's not. You won't tell us what it's for, and there's people that's starting to realize they're going to be building these like weird detention centers in their communities, and people don't want that. Like people are starting to see people are dying in those detention centers. We don't know exactly why, but that's not what we tried internment camps in World War II, and it was one of the worst things we ever did as a country.
So I have up what I was talking about earlier. I did a search real quick to compare. Now again, the arguably the worst president in history is Jimmy Carter. Most people will say Jimmy Carter is the worst president in history. So after the 15-month mark of their respective terms, so April of 2026 for Trump and April 1978 for Carter, President Donald Trump's approval rating, approximately 36% to 40.9%, is generally lower or similar to President Carter's 40%, with both leaders facing significant economic and internal headwinds at this stage. And then it shows the metrics, where Trump is at around 36 to 40.9. Carter was at 40. Not approval, -17 to -23. Carter was -12. Primary drivers, Iran war, high gas prices, government shutdown, high inflation, energy crisis, malaise from Carter. It's just, so January 25, he was at 47%. And he dropped down to between 36 and 40.
Well, the other thing they have in common is that there's something that brought down Carter as much as the economy was definitely Iran.
Yeah, so Carter had a high approval rating of 66% that peaked at 75 in March of 77. And Trump, he had a high approval rating, I would say, last year as well. It's just like, how do you have people around you that can't, like, history doesn't necessarily always repeat, but it rhymes. Like, how are you not looking at what happened to President Carter? Because a lot of that, if you go back and look, like, Iran was someone involved with that, with the oil embargo and all the shit that was going on back then. Like, the Ayatollah, like, that's right around when, like, he got into power. Like, how are you not looking back at history and saying we're taking a huge gamble by doing this? Or were they just that narcissistic and just confident that they didn't think that anything bad was going to come out of this?
I don't know. I think that he doesn't have, in the first term, he had a lot of people with him that had a lot of expertise. And he got mad at a lot of them because they wouldn't just roll over and do what he wanted them to do. This time, those people are long gone. And there were people in the room that had expertise and that would fight with him. And by all reports, and there's been tons of reports on X and all over the place, that a lot of the people there's no one he listens to. And people are afraid to tell him the truth. It's very,
because they're afraid to be ostracized, right?
So they're just afraid because they don't want to be the next one that gets fired. And so they're so in line with him because they just want to be, that they'll just do whatever he says because they just think they kind of agree with him. So the problem is there's nobody really in his circle, nobody that is willing to kind of say, what are you doing? And I don't think that there is. I don't think there's anybody. There's certainly nobody in Congress doing it. There's nobody in the Senate that's doing it. They occasionally tweet something, but no one's going to see him and knocking on the door and say, what are you doing?
They're all yes men.
Yeah. Like,
and the ones that were left, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Joe Kent,
she posted something pretty dramatic today. Like, Tucker has been pretty strong lately. I've been enjoying listening to Tucker a little bit lately just because he's had really good interviews. He's had really good interviews. Yeah, he's been challenging people quite well, and I'm pretty impressed with him lately. I mean, I do think, like, and the thing is, I think he's, I don't think Tucker's out for Tucker and his ratings, but I also think Tucker really is a smart man, and I think he does love the country. So I'm willing to listen to his point.
He's asking good questions.
He's an evil person.
He's asking good questions that everybody should be asking. That, unfortunately, people that are in power that are around Trump are afraid to ask, or afraid to question, or afraid to bring up. Like, the fact that we had to have, like, somebody like Joe Kent, and say what you will about Joe Kent, whether you agree with his politics and policies, he resigned from his position because he felt like that was his only option, because by staying in it, it wasn't going to change. He, as an intelligence person, gave his intelligence opinion, and Trump said, go fly a kite. This is what we're going to do. Right. Yeah. And I feel like Joe Kent is not the minority in thinking differently, that the rest of them are just afraid to lose their jobs, or the other thing too is maybe, I think Joe Kent is a tough enough guy that he knew that the shots were going to come publicly, and he just, I mean, the dude did 11 combat tours. Like, he doesn't care about being, ostracized in the media. And I think maybe some other people can't handle that, and they don't want to
write a book. He's going to end up being a pundit on Newsmax or something. The guy will be fine. Like, it's not like he made a ton of money in that government job. He's not he's not a guy that was making a ridiculous amount of money in that job. Mm-hmm. Like, he'll be fine. Like, and again, if anything, a lot of people are pretty, all right. Like, the guy showed he had his integrity. Like, and he cared about the people the type of people that he used to serve with.
Yep. I don't know where we go from here. What I do know is thank God for Bitcoin, because they're about to print an absolutely insane amount of money, and hard assets are about to go parabolic. Maybe not in the next 6 months, maybe not in the next year, maybe not in the next 3. But you cannot keep printing money, expanding the money supply, and not have hard assets absolutely go parabolic. And that's what Bitcoin's going to do. We spent a lot of this podcast talking politics, but the biggest story in the world right now is this Iran situation, and it affects everything financially. And until that gets some semblance of direction or clarity, it's kind of like where we're going to be. And I think every single day you see it. Markets are changing. Markets are up one day, down the next. It's just so much uncertainty. And until we get a little bit of direction, we kind of don't know which way things are going to go. In the meantime, we're here to kind of talk you through it. I always forget to do this because I'm a terrible self-promoter. Please like, subscribe, share, give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff that you're supposed to do with these types of things. And as always, don't trust, verify. See you next week. Peace.